tenacious.
Better to be boring. Lawrence. I'm with Sean Kellerman, and we are at the Kansas Legends Studio at 916 Massachusetts in Lawrence, Kansas, and we're going to break down this game a little bit different from the Tuesday game, Sean. Similarities would be the big runs by the opponents, but different in this one is Kansas could not answer back.
Unfortunately, David, not a lot of positives, and you and I were talking about this as we were walking out to our cars following the win on Tuesday. You know, so much elation after that win. But with sports, you're probably about as good as you were had you lost that game, right, against TCU. And we're certainly extremely grateful that we didn't. Had Kansas lost that game, that they were down by 16, then they'd be sitting at 0-3 right now in Big 12 play, theoretically. But, again, some of the things that really hampered Kansas and that eventual victory over TCU we saw again against West Virginia. And like you talked about, the big runs, that's a story because this is something that we haven't seen too often. Usually it's Kansas going on the big runs, but back-to-back games, the opponent does it. 18-1 was the TCU run. Kansas was able to overcome that. Today, 22-2, West Virginia, they go on a run. They play fantastic and end up essentially stealing victory from the jaws of defeat because Kansas was up by 8, and then WVU runs away with it at the end.
Yeah, the key time point in the game, 14:53 remaining in the game, and the Jayhawks are up 59-51. Let's stop there. How did you feel at that point in time about how we were playing and our chances for victory?
Great, right? Because this West Virginia team is not a top-tier West Virginia team. We've seen a lot of really good WVU teams, and who knows, maybe they'll be an NCAA tournament team if they're able to put it together, but this isn't one of the best teams in the Big 12 Conference. Coach Self talked about with Greg Gurley post-game. He said, hey, we've still got 6 games on our schedule against teams in the top 10. And unfortunately for Kansas, you start 1-2 with losses to UCF and West Virginia. Again, everybody in the Big 12 is good. We know that. But you got to win some of these on the road. And the fact that Kansas was up by 8, you felt good. You like our roster. You like our talent, certainly, and you like our coaching. in pretty much every matchup, but definitely against this West Virginia team, and everything just snowballed against them during that run. Weren't able to get stops, weren't able to stop that big run, which is disappointing because you know that we have guys who can find a way to do that, being making shots, getting to the free throw line. It just didn't happen, and Kansas went dry for about 7 minutes.
Yeah, I almost made a joke of it, maybe under my breath. When it got to be 6-0 or 8-0, at least it won't be 18-1 like Tuesday. And look what happened.
Right.
It blew up and turned into a 22-2 run, and the Mountaineers led 73-61 and obviously led the rest of the way. The text line is 234-25-HAWKS. If you want to be a part of the show, we've already had a number of people that text in. Tell us who you are and where you're from, and we would like to hear your thoughts or questions. Would take a stab at it if you have something you want to ask us.
Absolutely. 234-25-HAWKS. We've already got a few rolling in, and a lot of storylines. The biggest one is the fact that Kansas has their backs against the wall at 11-5, 1-2, and next up, 2 home games, but it's Iowa State and Baylor. Baylor, it looks like, is going to fall to 0-3, but we know that they're still a solid program with a great coach and a lot of talent. And Iowa State, they have been a wagon all season long. They host Oklahoma State a little bit later today, and they're undefeated. So that's the focus now, is finding a way to beat Iowa State on Tuesday. You do that, you're feeling a lot better, but in all reality, Kansas is probably going to be unranked heading into that one after a 1-1 week where they had to go to overtime to survive a home game against TCU.
Yeah, Rob from Chanute texted in questioning Kansas, are they in the tournament right now? And I think I've been doing this show for 23 to 25 years, I don't know that question has come about. It's a fair question, and I would say absolutely Kansas is in. It's so early, though. What does that mean? It means it's not as bad as what Rob suggested, but certainly it's not one you could look at and just laugh and say, we've got so many wins, we couldn't possibly blow that.
Yeah, and like Coach said, all these years we talk about how good the Big 12 is. We say that every year. But it seems like in the past few, it's actually the best year of the Big 12 Conference. And this is that case again. I mentioned all the teams in the top 10, 7 in the most recent AP top 25, including Kansas. And maybe Kansas will stay in indeed. But, yeah, I would say, not going down too far of a rabbit hole because it is just January 10th. Kansas, from a seed standpoint, you still have nice wins over Tennessee and NC State. You're probably on that 5-6 line right now in the NCAA tournament. Last year, of course, KU was a 7, but spent the majority of February and March out of the rankings, not somewhere we're used to being. The positive you can pull from this, and it's a positive if some of the things that Coach Self said are true, mainly Kansas needs to stick together, needs to improve on some elements of their game, is that it is only January 10th. And if you asked us at any point during the non-conference season, any point before the season even started, when do you want Kansas playing their best basketball? It's in March. And we know that's a little cliche, but that is what's most important. Coach Self even said that at his press conference the other day. He said there will be teams who are playing great right now who are not playing well in March, and vice versa. And there are teams who are playing great right now who will be playing great in March, and teams who are not playing well who will not be playing well in March. So you don't know what's going to happen. But before this season, given the fact that there were so many newcomers, and that's not making excuses because a lot of teams have newcomers, given the fact that there were a lot of newcomers, you knew it was going to take a while to mesh. And certainly Darren Peterson has only played in 7 games now, so they haven't had as much time, as many reps playing out there with him. And again, these are just factors that hopefully when it comes together at the most important time. But it gets late early out there, as they say in baseball, talking about pitching. It gets late early out there in the Big 12 Conference. I mean, you got to find a way to get some wins. Last year, when Kansas ended up being a 7 seed, there were a lot of 1-1 weeks in the Big 12 Conference and not nearly as many 2-0 weeks that we were used to. Hopefully we have a lot of those on the horizon. And
realistically, there's probably a week that Kansas will have that they can get a 1-1. May not be a terrible thing.
Right.
Because it could be 2 teams ranked in the top 10.
And I'll say this, next week is not one of those weeks because both of your games are at home. And you need to win your home games, particularly because you've got 9 road games and you're 0-2 and it's UCF and West Virginia. UCF's the team in the top 25, I get that, and West Virginia played great, and we'll talk more about how well these 3 Big 12 teams have played against Kansas moving forward. But it's not Arizona, Iowa State, Texas Tech, some of these teams that you have to face on the road. Not that those are automatic losses either, but you've got to win your home games, which makes next week absolutely crucial in the wake of this loss.
Text line is 23425 Hawks. The topic coming into today in the Crimson and Blue show was Kansas defense switching the 5, and were teams starting to figure this out because Kansas was giving up some high percentages. And the other topic was Melvin Council. Can he be Melvin Council even when Darren Peterson is out on the court? We will talk about those things. Take your text. We'll also have some sound audio of KU players and Bill Self. The Jayhawk Radio Network is sponsored by Kansas Insurance. For all your business and farm insurance, call Kansas Insurance today. This is the Kansas Lottery. Jayhawk Locker Room Show on the Kansas Insurance Jayhawk Sports Network from Learfield.
LMH.org/OrthoKansas to learn more. LMH Health, a partner for lifelong health.
I'm going to say that'll make us sound like...
Yeah.
Number 20. Yeah, 86-75. Kansas now 11-5, but the concerning part, 1-2 in the Big 12 Conference, going 0-2 on the road. And it's too early to say for certain, but we can say in all probability we haven't even played any of the top 5 teams that we are going to play in this very, very difficult league. Special thanks to Matt Llewellyn and the 23rd Street Brewery for bringing out some great food. He brought out a brunch that the brewery now serves on Saturday and Sunday. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, very good. French toast. There's a strawberry waffle, and of course, bacon and eggs, whatever you want. 23rd Street Brewery. Appreciate Matt Llewellyn and his team over there, always hooking us up.
And this is a great studio to hang out with. Tell us more about Kansas Legends Studio. This is kind of your day gig.
Yeah, Kansas Nation. This is where we have our podcast daily. Check out kansasnation.com. Also, you can follow Kansas Nation on socials, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We've got all sorts of great content, everything you need for KU, not just basketball and football, but all the Olympic sports as well. And state-of-the-art studio here on Mass Streets. Really, really cool event space and TVs. We got all sorts of games on right now, and a great place to watch the game. We just want to hope for some winners down the line as well. So appreciate the hospitality here at Kansas Nation in partnership with our Kansas City affiliate, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Got a text from Steve in Plainville, Kansas.
Shout out to Jared Casey.
Yes. It's not his father, though. I know him, but it's not named Steve. But Steve says, Kansas kid outplayed our 4- and 5-star bigs. Just saying.
What's frustrating is last year, or I guess it was 2 years ago when Kansas went to Morgantown as well, they had a fellow by the name of Patrick Sumnick who – not an overly athletic, bouncy, jumpy guy, but he kind of did the same thing that Obioha did today to Kansas in terms of just finding a way to score. And for Kansas, so much of their offense on the flip side is the dribble drive and finding a way to score baskets with jump shots, with dump offs, and a lot of that's good, but you're still not quite seeing the ability to establish an inside presence on offense. Flory Badunga ends up with 8 points and 6 rebounds. Need more production out of Flory. I think that's fair to say. He's able to finish alley-oops, had a great alley-oop finish in transition, great at catching lobs, great getting behind the defense. But a lot of that, again, is created when the guards are able to penetrate. And Kansas just doesn't quite have that safety net right now of somebody to throw it to with their back to the basket to score. And that's putting more pressure on the guards. And that's a lot of pressure to have to make plays every possession.
And Steve's point is fair for today because, let's not forget, it's a long season. But Obiaha was 11 points and 10 rebounds. And Bidunga and Tiller combined for 12 points and 11 rebounds.
Brennan Lorient had a fantastic game as well. And it's frustrating because some of this is, I guess, good fortune for West Virginia, the fact that they have guys who haven't hit as many threes step out and just confidently make shots. But if you ask the Hall of Famer, he would say, these teams are playing well because we're not making them play poorly. And we can talk more about that. But, yeah, West Virginia, 42% from three, 86 points. And if you heard the post-game interview presented by Martin Pringle with Greg Gurley and Bill Self, he said of the 86, just one was on a fast break. So that's 85 points they're scoring in the half court. And you look back, it was an overtime game, but TCU hung 100 and UCF 81 on Kansas. Kansas, a team that has consistently been in the top 10 in defensive efficiency in KenPom. After this game today, KU is now down to 17 in defensive efficiency. So these last 3 games, the main problem for Kansas has been other teams are scoring too easily. And I'll say the exact same thing I said when Kansas lost to UCF a week ago, David. You score 75 points on the road, that should be enough. And unfortunately, again, the opponent gets in the 80s. And this is just going to be hopefully one minor setback for a Kansas team that we know can be much better than this on the defensive end.
I don't think it was talked about enough, at least on television, that Kansas was 19-1 on fast break points.
Yeah.
But yet the Jayhawks lose by 11. That's a lot because fast break points are score easy points. But yet Kansas was outshot from the field 48 to 43%. It's way back a long time ago now, but that first half had a couple of similarities from what we saw on Tuesday in that Kansas is just playing ho-hum, and then they finish with a nice run. I believe this one was 7-0. Tuesday was 9-0. What stands out to you about the first half?
That's when Lorient got going toward the end for West Virginia. He had their final 7 points of the half. Melvin Council, a nice take off the glass. And then Peterson, the final 5. He hits the 3 at the end of the buzzer. But like you said, KU unable to carry that momentum into the second half. Same thing against TCU when the Frogs scored the first 6 of the second half after Kansas had taken a 5-point lead into the break. So you felt really good at halftime, right? You're up by 4. And again, from a roster standpoint, Kansas is better than West Virginia. You have more guys. It just it wasn't working, and in that second half, it really got away from them. But a back and forth affair, a lot of lead changes, David, in that first half. And honestly, Kansas, to start that second half, you felt really good about. Trey White had 3 threes, the third of which gave KU their biggest lead of the day.
Yeah, and Darren Peterson matched Lorient with 16 first-half points. He was 5-11, 2 of 5, and the second of which was right at the end of the half. So, again, Jayhawks took some juice into the locker room, and we'll talk about the second half when we come back. But let's get to a couple of texts. 234-25 Hawks. We'll pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to Jayhawk Basketball. From Sandy and Garden City, I guess it's just a question or a statement. Does this mean we've given up on Cole Rosario? And, you know, first of all, I'm not in Bill Self's head, but I think absolutely not. I mean, this guy's going to get minutes. It's going to matter about practice. Obviously, it's going to matter if he can make shots. And I believe in this young man. I've talked about him the entire season. And, you know, he's pressing, obviously. And sometimes for freshmen, it's not good to press. And he shoots extra minutes, I would say even extra hours every week, if not daily. And Bill Self has even made the quote, you know, the kid just needs to go out and be a kid. And maybe he's over-practicing a little bit.
It could be, and definitely gets in your mind. A confident kid, and we've seen what he can do when you look at some of the things he's done in high school. He had 3 threes in the game against Davidson, and Kansas, you know, they know what they have in Cole Rosario. It just hasn't come about yet. And this is normal for freshmen, right? This is how it used to be when freshmen would come in, and there was a process of them, you know, getting acclimated to the college game, particularly at a Power 5 conference level. And Rosario plays the season low 4 minutes, as our text was alluding to, I'm sure. No, we're not giving up on him. I wouldn't think that at all. But Kansas still searching for other options on offense. Again, I think that it starts with the big man, Flory Badunga. I think Flory getting post touches, finding way to scores, aside from, you know, finishing lobs, and aside from essentially slipping by the defense on a dribble drive. Can we find a way to establish that? Because that's going to open everything up. It's going to make it easier for guys like Darren Peterson and Melvin Council to not feel like they have to force on so many possessions. But then the other thing is you have too many guys, I think, and this is fair to say, that just aren't giving you enough, right? You have guys who are, from a usage standpoint, producing a lot, but also being used a lot in Peterson, Council, White, right? You're getting more minutes out of Elmarco Jackson today, but he ends up going minus 17 in the plus-minus. He had 8 points. Of course, he had the late 2 and the late 3 to improve his scoring a little bit, but McDowell didn't score in 9 minutes. Rosario didn't score in his 4, and then Jaden Dawson hit 1 3. He played the final 6 minutes of this game. And Bryson Tiller, who was an offensive threat early part of the season, he's only got 4 points as well. So you have a lot of guys who just aren't giving you enough, and it's putting other pressure on your top 2 or 3 guys from an offensive standpoint.
But to be thrown into that debate, how important is plus or minus? And that, again, is how the team is doing while you're in the game. And Bryson Tiller did not look like he had a big game, didn't play a lot of minutes.
Right.
4 points. He was 2 for 2, didn't shoot much. He had 5 rebounds and a steal, but he was a plus 11 in plus or minus.
Coaches see that, right? And how often do coaches talk about how it's not necessarily how many points you score, it's not how you're playing individually when you're out there, it's how is the team playing when you are out there. And plus 11, by far the best for Kansas. And when you lose by 11, you're not going to have very many good individuals in that stat, and there were a lot of double-digit negatives for Kansas. But it's a shame because you felt like this game could have been swung back to Kansas had they found a way to somehow stop that run, even if it was 6-0, 8-0, get to the free throw line with a guy like Peterson or White, or get a big basket down low from a big. And, again, it just snowballed kind of like it did against TCU. KU recovered at home, against the Frogs, but half the games are on the road. Everybody's going to want to beat Kansas, even when Kansas isn't the number one team in the country. And certainly West Virginia's had our number in Morgantown recently.
Yeah, you mentioned something that made me want to read this text from Tim in Omaha. Lifelong Jayhawk fan, the reality is this team is 9-9 in Big 12 play. And first of all, there's a lot of teams after the season is over that would like to go 9-9 because that's just the kind of gauntlet that teams are going to face. And, right now, obviously, that kind of looks like Tim is about where it needs to be. We have not yet played the big heavy hitters, let's say. 5 teams we'll name a little bit later in the show. But just how good are those teams compared to the ones we played? And we've got so much to go. Let's see which direction this team is.
And those teams that are in the top 10, top 15 in the Big 12, Houston, Iowa State, Arizona, Texas Tech has spent some time up there as well. Those teams are going to lose to the UCFs, the West Virginias of the world, that sort of thing. But you can't have too many of them. Kansas sets the expectation to compete for, if not win, the Big 12 championship. We won it a million years in a row, right? And right now, 1 and 2 is definitely uncharted waters. So you got to get it back. But, we don't want to read too much into it at the same time, right? We're all going to be emotional. You and I were bummed watching this game, trying to figure out what went wrong. And we all understand the gauntlet that is for Kansas basketball here in the Big 12, but you just got to take it a game at a time. And if Kansas is able to beat Iowa State on Tuesday, you're going to be feeling better. Hold serve at home these next 2 games. And then after that, your road games are at Colorado and at K-State. Probably similar in terms of talent to UCF and West Virginia. Maybe there's a way that Kansas can go 2-0 in those 2 road games. Certainly, Kansas has the talent to do it. They've got the coaches to do it. But it all starts next week with 2 home games.
Fan is short for fanatic.
Yeah.
And that's just the kind of person a fanatic is. Their happiest day is Wednesday morning after that big overtime win, and they are struggling right now. After this timeout, we're going to come back and hear from Jayhawks, who addressed the media shortly after the 86-75 loss at West Virginia. We're in the Kansas Nation studio on Mass Street, 916 Mass. We'll be back with more on the Kansas Insurance Jayhawks Sports Network from Learfield.
Spotting
30 to go.
22-2 as it worked out, and Kansas just could not come back from that like they did on Tuesday. They lost 86-75. Rock Chalk and Raleigh Jayhawk fans, from the latest KU basketball gear to exclusive NIL style supporting your KU athletes. Visit Raleigh House in-store and online today. We're going to hear from some players who, of course, have to address the media, win or lose, Sean.
Yeah, Trey White and Elmarco Jackson, they went to the podium. 86-75, KU loses Morgantown.
They just got hot and, just wasn't playing to our principles on defense. And, it's something that we're going to have to hunker down on. We got a really good team in Iowa State coming up, so we got to just focus on that, get back to playing how we play basketball and just being tougher.
Yeah, Elmarco, talk a little about the defense. You guys started off as one of the best defensive teams in the country, but since conference play, it's kind of been a struggle on that end. What are you seeing out there that you guys can do better?
Limiting second chance points. I feel like as of right now, we're, not doing our best on the defensive, glass. We're allowing teams to get second chance points. So I say that's something that we got to focus on, and just, limiting, teams playing the matchups, trying to find the guys and go at them. So just playing better help defense as well.
Can you guys address, both of you, the challenges of playing? Is it a little tougher playing on the road with what's happened in the past week, or is it just the way the Big 12 is?
What happened in the past week, that doesn't have any effect on us traveling or away games. I feel like it's the same principles for every game. I feel like, we just got to stand on what we're good at, playing fast, help defense, helping the helper. And tonight we kind of got away from that a couple times. But I don't want to say like I'm glad we lost, but, I'm glad we got kind of a slap in the face early. You don't want to play your best ball in January. So we're trying to, peak at the right time. But we do have some, issues that we're going to address. I still feel like we're one of the best defenders in the country. So we just got to, come together on all cylinders.
Could you answer the same question? Same question about playing on the road. Is it a little tougher, or is it just what's going on this season with, dropped a couple games on the road now?
It's just the Big 12. I feel like it's the best conference in college basketball. We're not playing up to par as what we should be. So, as players and, we just got to lock in.
How important will this film session be as you guys move forward this year?
It'll be important. Every film session, we take it as the same. It's just a learning experience. It's just, the act of going out and, executing what we're shown and limiting mistakes. Basketball is, it's a game of finding mistakes. Every possession there's going to be a mistake, and it's whether you exploit it or not. So defensively, it's limiting those mistakes, and offensively, it's, trying to exploit those mistakes.
What was the kind of scene like in the locker room? What did Bill tell you guys after this loss?
This league is going to be tough. If we don't, hunker in and focus, it's going to be a long season, and that's not what we, came into the summer, expecting and wanting out of this group. I feel like we got a really good group. We got athletic guys. We got very talented guys, and we all mesh very well together. So, it's just a matter of time until the cogs just start rolling.
Obviously, you don't play down, bang down in the post, but can you, just from your opinion, from your view, the impact that OBO, West Virginia's big guy, had on the game?
55. Tonight he played super physical on the glass. He's 300 pounds. So I feel like with players like that, you got to do game rebounding. Two people come box him out. And I feel like tonight I'll take accountability as well. I got to hit him earlier. Once you get into the cylinder at that big, it's kind of hard to keep you off the glass. So standing him up early and definitely got to take that more personally, and take into the fact, with Kansas, we get everybody's best game, so that means we got to, play our best game every time, too.
Got time for a couple guys. You've had a lot of time to practice with Darren this year. What's it like adapting to playing alongside him and also him learning to play with you guys in the course of the game?
Yeah, it's been fun. He's a gifted player. His gravity on the court is crazy. He can attract 2 at any moment, attract 3 at any moment. So it's just, being in the right spots whenever he's going in attack mode and stuff like that. And defensively, too, he's active on the other end. So it's been a seamless fit with him.
Trey, was there any difference in the second half? Shots weren't falling as much. Was West Virginia doing anything particular defensively against you guys?
I don't feel like we base our game off shots falling enough. I feel like we base our game off defense, and I feel like second half we were up. And then that first media, we kind of let them come back into the game. And, you know, once you come with that amount of energy going and stuff like that, shots start falling, you know, rebounds start getting missed. So it was pretty much the defense end that kind of made it an uphill battle.
Yeah, the defense, David, has been something that Kansas, like I said, they were thriving defensively in the non-conference, and then Big 12 play started. It seems like they've lost that a little bit. So that's going to be, I'm sure, in the eyes of Bill Self, the number one thing that Kansas needs to get back to bring back the good vibes from non-con.
And I think I went into a break saying that we were going to discuss this, and certainly giving up 48% to West Virginia and 11 of 26 from the three continues a downward trend for KU defensively, who's still ranked number one in the Big 12 in field goal shooting defense and three-point shooting defense. So the Jayhawks defensively, which I get it, you know, that people talk about the technique of switching five, not switching, but it has a lot to do with toughness and want to, and we've got to be all in on that.
And Kansas, honestly, from where I've been sitting, they're not jumping high enough. They're not in attack mode enough. They're not going after the glass. We saw that in the overtime period against TCU, but overall we have not seen it as much in these three games. The guards need to clean up, but certainly the bigs need to kind of get back to what they did in Vegas. Remember how good Flory and Bryson were in Vegas, putting up double-doubles, and Kansas wins all three games. Kind of got to get back to that 1-2, that confidence, and that's a big part of the defense. The rebounding, getting a defensive rebound to close out the possession. Offensive rebounds from the opposition have really hurt KU.
Chris from Atchison texts in. He said, do you guys agree with me that Trey White and Melvin Council are playing better than anticipated? And I would agree with that. And I think Chris's point is, where would we be if that wasn't the case?
Right. Absolutely. Council, 11 points, 4 assists, just 1 turnover. Not his best game, but he has been so consistent. And you and I talked in the Crimson and Blue show, I think, last Saturday about how you had those two guys, and then Bryson Tiller was so good at the beginning of the season, guys that you didn't expect to maybe contribute to the point that they have. And that's been huge. And, of course, Peterson being out has led to a little bit more usage of those guys. But DP, 23 points. Wasn't his most efficient game from the field, but still he had 6 rebounds and a couple steals. I like when he's out there. No doubt about that. Got to get some other guys going, though. We like the depth of this team in terms of talent, but it's still kind of some raw talent, some young talent in the likes of Tiller and Rosario, and trying to figure out some roles still. Guys like Jaden Dawson hasn't been able to get out on the court enough, and Marco Jackson has been good defensively, but hasn't helped Kansas a ton on the offensive end. So a lot of question marks still, but it's not just KU having a bad day. Michigan was undefeated. They were ranked number 2 in the country. They just lost at home to Wisconsin, 91-88. The ups and downs of the season, we're just at Kansas not used to being 1-2, having 5 losses already, and we know that this team is more talented than the Kansas teams of the last couple of years. It's just true. It is. Now, can they mesh together and find a way to be playing their best ball and prove, ideally on Tuesday, first things first, that they can beat these top-tier teams? Because that'd be a huge win, I think, for KU's psyche, and certainly a resume builder as well if you can beat a top-5 Iowa State team. And that should be the expectation at Kansas, is a team comes to Allen Fieldhouse. I don't care what team it is. I don't care what number's next to their name. You beat them because you're at Allen Fieldhouse. And this KU team needs that. We need a joyous locker room show on Tuesday.
Yes, let's do that. And to your point earlier, Bidunga Tiller combined for 12 points, 11 rebounds. That's not good enough numbers for this team to beat quality Big 12 opponents. LMH Health is your partner for lifelong health. Learn more at lmh.org. When we come back, we're going to hear from the Hall of Fame head coach Bill Self on the Kansas Insurance Jayhawks Sports Network from Learfield. there. Let's hope there's more of that. Also, Cole Rosario, we were talking about contributions. He's a guy that, I thought he was going to be amongst our leading scorers, not the leading scorer. And it's still early. Who knows? But he wasn't able to log many minutes today, just 4 minutes. Crimson and Blue Tuesdays are back at the KU Bookstore. Score 20% off on apparel and gifts each Tuesday at the KU Bookstore locations or KUBookstore.com. Rock Chalk, Kansas 11-5, 1-2 in conference as they lose in Morgantown. That's the third straight win for West Virginia, and now Kansas leads the all-time series 19-8.
Yeah, still a solid lead for KU, but 8-4 West Virginia is against KU at West Virginia, and we're going to hear from Bill Self. Of course, a big week coming up for KU. You got Iowa State, 8 o'clock on Tuesday, and then Baylor Friday night. Don't have too many of those, but 7 o'clock Friday, the Bears come to town. Baylor's 0-3 right now in Big 12 play. They took it on the chin today against Houston, 77-55 in Waco. So a Baylor team that's on paper not as strong as they have been, but Iowa State, they're a national title contender, and they're going to come in after, in my opinion, blowing out Oklahoma State today. We'll have to see what happens. Nobody expected Michigan to lose undefeated at home, so you just never know in college basketball. And KU still trying to put the pieces together, figure out how they best fit, and certainly what the recipe is. Going to need some individuals to start performing better, and certainly got to clean up a few statistical things, giving up the offensive rebounds, and certainly defensively. The field goal percentage was so good in non-con, and just has not been there at 3 games Big 12 play. Let's hear from Bill Self post-game the loss.
Well, and I don't think I'm coaching it thinking, okay, it's 16 straight, but obviously we're up 8. And they go up 8, obviously. So yeah, we were very poor. They backed us down, our guards down on the post, and we didn't give much resistance at all. And they took advantage of that. And then we didn't obviously score on the other end, but they were tougher. We never stopped them the whole night. They still got 39 the first half. We never stopped them. And never made them play poorly. We actually did a good job on their 2 3-point shooters the first half, and they had 3 other guys combined for 4, which they played great. But that was kind of scouting report. Don't dare them to shoot, but make somebody else beat you from beyond the arc, and we actually did the first half, and the second half we didn't.
How tough is it to guard 2 guards like Honor Huff and Tracy Eaglestaff, especially once they get going?
Yeah, the problem was we let them get going. Although Huff, he made a couple that were pretty hard shots. I mean, he's a good little player, and I thought he was great. And Eaglestaff, he got the one wide open early in the second half, and then he followed it up with another one right after that, and then drove it and did some other good things. But those 2 played well, but I really thought 55-0 were the key to the game for them. I thought they both played great.
Bill, the schedule gets harder as the season goes along, obviously, but are you concerned at all with where the team's at?
We suck right now. So, but it's right now. Everybody goes through ebbs and flows in a season. I mean, the last 3 games we haven't played well. We've got to flip it, because the thing about it is when the three teams that we played thus far, the common denominator with that is they've all played really well. So that tells me that we're not doing something to make them play poorly. We can talk about a 16-0 run, which obviously occurred, or whatever the deal is. But the bottom line, there was a time we had 58 or 59 points with 15 minutes left in the game against a team that only averages giving up 67 or 68. So it wasn't our offense. It was at the end. But it wasn't our offense up until the game flipped. It was the fact that we didn't get consistent stops on the other end and finish possessions, and that's a credit to them. I thought they played really well.
And kind of going with that, you've talked about the defense repeatedly being better since conference play started. What is so different when you look at the way they played in these 3 games versus in non-con play?
I don't know.
Playing?
I don't know. Today we didn't switch near as much. We actually did some things a little bit different, but still our attention to detail and let's just call it. I have to watch tape, and no matter what a coach says now, usually you can go back and say, well, that's because the coaching staff and the coach hasn't done a good enough job training them on what you want them to do different. So I mean, get it. So it sounds like maybe if anything's said now that I'm placing blame on players. I'm not. I'm placing fault with all of us, but we have not consistently got everybody to understand that your value to our program and to our team is being a junkyard dog more so than it is being a skilled player. We ain't got through to that, and we've got to do that, and that's the coach's responsibilities to get the players to do that. But our best teams here weren't great all the time, but we never let anybody else play well.
You mentioned 0 and 55 for West Virginia. What were they doing specifically that really caught your eye there, especially during the second half?
Well, 0 had 16 at halftime. That can catch your eye pretty easy, and then the offensive rebounding. Obviously, we didn't do a bad job in the game on the defensive boards until you look at well, they got 11, and really only 2 offensive rebounds where anybody other than 55 got them. The other 3 were good bounces out of bounds. We block a shot. We don't go after the ball. The ball goes out of bounds. It's their ball, and they ended up making 4 points off of it. Because we fouled. He makes the first. He misses the second. Get the offensive rebound, throw out for 3, and it's that was pretty much, it wasn't game, but that was the biggest play. So I would say the way they rebounded the ball in crucial situations and the way we didn't was probably as much as anything.
Interesting there from Bill Self, kind of going back to what he said with Greg Gurley, which is these last 3 teams we've played, the 3 teams we played in Big 12 play, they've all played great against us. And as expected, he says, that's because we haven't made them play poorly. And, yeah, Kansas just doesn't, to me, at this point, look like they've had that killer instinct, right, where they got to lock down and get a stop and stop a run or find a way to flip the script at game point. They just haven't quite gotten there yet. A lot of games left to play, but it's not going to get any easier.
Obiaha is the kid from Hoxie, Kansas, with 11 points and 10 rebounds. He's number 55 that Bill Self was referring to. And then in regards to teams playing well against us, back during the streak, the 13 straight Big 12 Conference Championships, we would kind of have fun with that teams would always be mysteriously in a slump when they played Kansas.
Right.
Just coincidentally, when they played Kansas, things did not go well for them.
And it just, since then, the past 2 or 3 years, and I think a lot of Jayhawk fans who've watched teams closely have known, teams don't have that fear, right? They're playing with a lot of confidence against KU. And it's up to these guys, the 5 guys who are wearing blue today and will be wearing white on Tuesday, to instill that fear and to instill doubt in the opponent, because the opponents in Big 12 play, UCF, TCU, West Virginia. I mean, aside from TCU toward the end when Kansas was putting the pressure on with that big run, they haven't played with a lot of doubt. They haven't looked nervous out there. KU's got to find a way to do that, because that's how you win so many games. That's how you win so many conference championships, as Bill Self often talks about, is finding a way to win when you don't play your best. And right now, Kansas isn't playing their best. It starts on defense, finding a way to get stops, to get defensive rebounds, and then having enough offense to get the job done.
Show your Jayhawk pride with gear from Rally House. Get game day ready with the latest KU apparel, bold headwear, and everything you need to cheer on the Jayhawks in style. After this timeout, we're going to hear more from Bill Self as he sat down with writers after the loss 86-75 to West Virginia. This is the Kansas Insurance Jayhawks Sports Network from Learfield. Three of 9 from the three. He was 8 of 8 at the free throw line. Looks great there, doesn't he? He had 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, and 31 minutes. And we've had a lot of concern from texters about, Darren's limitation in minutes, but, 31 minutes, I'm good with that.
Yeah, after playing 32. Why not? He's been out there, and again, he's been the offensive force. You still see a little bit of choppiness, and going back to what I said earlier, it would be help if you had that safety net, right, that you could throw it to on the block and just kind of reset the offense, let the guards take a deep breath, because right now you're seeing a lot of, I don't even want to say one-on-one for Kansas because they're still moving the ball okay, but a lot of dribble drives are having to happen, and you're not able to throw it into the post, and perhaps they have a post trap. Perhaps a double team comes from the weak side and that opens somebody up. You're just having to see a lot of creation for KU offensively. But again, 75 points. Kansas scored 104 in overtime against TCU. They scored 75 against UCF. Not a lot of problems out there on the offensive side. It's just the other teams scoring too easily, and Kansas isn't able to stop the bleeding.
We'll see if Bill mentions this in part 2 with the press, but Kansas had just 11 assists on 26 made baskets.
And that goes back to what I'm talking about, right? That's really not when KU has been at its best. And we know that we're not going to see as much high-low as we used to. College basketball has changed, and, of course, that was Bill Self when he first came here. We saw a lot of high-low, and even, 8-10 years after Coach got here, you had the Morris twins, and you did some high-low. You don't see that as much, but you got to have something inside. Flory, I mentioned, just 8 and 6. He's got to be the guy that demands the ball, and, again, it'll just help everybody else. And certainly you need some contributions from the guys who aren't high usage high-scoring guys, Peterson, White, and Council. Who else is going to deliver? Whether it's Rosario or Dawson or BT gets back to what he was earlier this season, got to have somebody help on that side. And yeah, got to stop the bleeding on defense, which is something Kansas was so good at in the non-conference. We're going to hear more from Bill Self. We are doing our Jayhawk Locker Room show live right now in the all-new Kansas Nation studios downtown on Mass Street. You can check out kansasnation.com if you want to watch a video feed in the Jayhawk Locker Room show. For occasional post-game road games shows, will be here at Kansas Nation. And don't forget to like and follow Kansas Nation across all your social platforms. We got daily and weekly podcasts, news conferences, interviews, everything you need at kansasnation.com. Coach Self was asked post-game about the difference between playing at home on the road here this season.
There's not much difference. We haven't been great at home either. You know, we just labored to win a game the other day at home. I would say usually the best road teams are always the ones that can either outscore you or the ones that can make you play poorly. And we're not doing either one. And we're not going to outscore anybody. We can score enough points to win. I'm not saying that at all. But to get in a contest where we want the game 95-92, that's not who we are. We need to be able to grind, and we haven't been able to do that yet. And I say yet because I think we're capable of getting there, but we're not there yet.
In the arc of you guys learning for the rest of the team to play with DP and DP learning to play with the rest of the team, where did this game fit? How did they do in that respect?
I don't know. I just go back and watch the game. I thought Darren was aggressive, didn't make shots, but you know he still gets 23 in 30 minutes. He's obviously, but I don't think that I look at it differently than you guys do. I look at it as regardless of who you're playing with, if Flory's in the game or Bryson or Trey, what are we doing to give ourselves the best chance to win that possession? And we're playing like there's always time left. And that's not how you win on the road.
Coach, I know first impressions can mean a lot, but obviously it's not like you've gone up against Hodge for years. But what was your first impressions on his game plan and adjustments during the game?
He got him 3 layups on out of timeouts. So, and to be honest with you, we've walked over every one of them, and their offensive execution was a hell of a lot better than our defensive execution. So, that to me, a sign of a coach. You teach them how to play. Everybody does. But if you can steal them some points every now and then, that really doesn't come from having to grind every possession. That's a positive, and I thought they did a good job with that tonight, and we didn't do a good job of executing defensively on how to guard those 3 actions like we should have.
Sure is. That's Bill Self post game. KU loses in Morgantown, 86-75.
Good thing about basketball is you don't have to wait an entire week to come back from that and get the bad taste out of your mouth, but to get that taste out of your mouth.
I'm glad we're playing at Iowa State.
I am too.
I don't want to play, no disrespect to Davidson or Towson. I'm glad we're playing a top 5 team on Tuesday. I mean, I know that it's going to be a difficult game, and there's going to be, in theory, a lot on the line, I guess, for KU fans, as much as can be on the line on January 13th. But I'm glad it's a good team. Bring them on, and KU's got to get right. Hopefully that happens. And 2 games at home. Let's go 2-0 next week, and we'll be feeling better.
Yeah, it's just 6 days that we're going to play 2 home games, one of them a top 5 opponent. And if somehow you can flip that and go 3-2 after Friday night's game against Baylor, then all of a sudden the taste in our mouth is a lot better.
Guys are going to be juiced. The field house is going to be juiced, and Iowa State's going to be due to take one on the chin. I wouldn't be surprised if KU has their best performance of the year. Let's hope that's the case, and has good vibes all over the program before Baylor on Friday.
Something tells me that 15,500 are going to be there.
Yeah, I would think so, right? Something being the last let's see, 70 plus years of Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
It's going to be packed to the brim.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And the Jayhawk Radio Network is sponsored by Kansas Insurance. Offices in Lawrence, Topeka, Colby, Oskaloosa, and Tonganoxie. We're going to take a look at those Cyclones when we come back to Kansas Nation Studio 916 Mass. This is the Kansas Lottery Jayhawk Locker Room Show on the Kansas Insurance Jayhawk Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Jayhawk fans.
Number 5.
.53 remaining in the game after the Trey White 3, but then West Virginia, they head off on a 22-2 run, and Kansas cannot come back like they did in the Fieldhouse on Tuesday. They lose their second league contest, both of them on the road, 86-75 to West Virginia, and they have a great opportunity. Not many times you're underdog in the Fieldhouse, and that'll probably be the case. And so I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on our visitors from Iowa State, who have put together some daunting numbers. They are averaging 52% shooting from the field, giving up 41%. They're shooting over 41% from the three, giving up just 31%. There are +7 rebounds average per game, and turnovers, similar numbers. They're committing just 10 turnovers a game, and they're forcing 17 turnovers. Jefferson leads them with crazy numbers that suggest the triple-double that he had earlier in this season. He's averaging 18 points. He has 78 assists on the season and 8 rebounds per game, and shooting 39% from the three. That's MVP numbers.
Yeah. He's a great passer out of the post, but as you said, he does a lot of things well. Milan Momcilovic, though, he is usually the top scorer for Iowa State. They have a game earlier this year, David, against Alcorn State. Iowa State scored 65 in the first half, and then they scored 67 in the second half. 132 points. In that game against Alcorn State, they shot 71% from the field and 22 of 30 from three, 73% from three, and 132 point output. It is Alcorn State, but still that shows the offensive firepower that the Cyclones team has. They beat Purdue at Mackey Arena 81-58 when Purdue was number 1 in the country. They've also got nice wins over Iowa and St. John's. That was in Vegas at the Players era. They also have beaten Creighton, Syracuse, Mississippi State, and of course in conference play they defeated West Virginia and then won at Baylor. They're about to tip off with Oklahoma State in Stillwater. But, Momcilovic and Jefferson, great scores. Taman Lipsey's averaging nearly 15 a game for a pass-first point guard. That's pretty good. A lot of firepower. But, again, this is a great chance for Kansas, and we're going to ride with the Crimson and Blue. They're going to get right on Tuesday.
Should be a lot of fun, and not too long to wait for that one to happen. That'll do it for our show for today. For Sean Kellerman and our studio producer, Nate Strope. This is David Lawrence inviting you to join us again for Kansas basketball when Kansas takes on Iowa State. This is the Kansas Insurance Jayhawk Sports Network from Learfield. Rock Shock. Jayhawk.
I used to believe the universe could